Some candidates, unlike Ron DeSantis, do not have very good political instincts. I'm thinking of the anti-DeSantis, the opposite of Ron DeSantis, namely Beto O'Rourke. Loses the run for Senate, loses the run for president. Now he's running for governor of Texas. Beto O'Rourke, at the moment in which the pro-life movement is probably at the height of its influence, at the moment in which the pro-abortion movement is probably at the absolute lowest point of its influence among voters and among the institutions, Beto O'Rourke shows up to The View to demand no limits on abortion whatsoever.
Once the kid is born, it's bye-bye, baby.
That's right.
But I do want to press further, because you're a progressive hero. There are so many people around the country who admire you and your leadership. Do you believe in any limitations on abortion, whether it's the third trimester or up until even the final months, 9 months?
I think Roe versus Wade, which we should remind ourselves is still the law of the land today, is the reference point that I would look to. And the way I think I can best express this is that I trust women. We should all trust women to make their own decisions that are in their best interest for themselves, for their health care, and for their future. That's the way it's been literally my entire life. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 this year, but that's the way it should be going forward. But let me just finish this point super quickly. In Texas, under Greg Abbott's watch, 100 kids lost their lives last year in the CPS, Child Protective Services System in Texas, under the care and the custody of the state of Texas. If he cared about life, he would have cared about those kids, but he cares about political points and control and power over women's bodies.
He loves his guns, too.
So pathetic, so weak coming from Beto O'Rourke. Listen, this is a very sad story. Kids died in the foster care system. And if Greg Abbott really cared about life, he would have killed those kids much sooner. He wouldn't have let those kids live for however long they did live. He would have killed them much sooner. That's how you care about life. Why is he even talking about the foster care? Find me a Republican who thinks that the foster care system's just perfect, or thinks that there's no way to improve the foster care system. Give me a break. There's no Republican there. It's a complete straw man. And if you really cared about, listen, buddy, we're talking about abortion, and your view on abortion is so hideous, morally idiotic, and unpopular that you don't want to talk about abortion, and you want to move on and talk about foster care. Okay, you want to talk about foster care? Let's talk about foster care. I would love to reform the foster care system. I would love to make it easier for parents to adopt and less expensive for parents to adopt in this country. I would love to make it harder for parents to get divorced in this country. I would love to do all sorts of things that would help families in America. I would love to change aspects of our industrial policy. I would love to change aspects of our trade policy to make it easier to form families. I would love to do all sorts of stuff. If you want to have, you don't want to have that conversation. Now you're talking about guns for some reason, Joy Behar, and we need to talk about guns. No, those are totally separate issues. I'm happy to talk about guns too. But you're all running away from the issue of abortion because you know that your position on it, namely that you should be able to kill a baby 1 minute before he's born, is extremely unpopular and obviously evil and wrong. So they keep trying to shift the goalposts. This guy does not have good instincts. Whenever Beto O'Rourke issues an opinion on something, if you are an aspiring politician, if you want to be effective in the political square, do the opposite, okay? It's just, even regardless of what you think, it is a good bet that whatever Beto O'Rourke thinks, the opposite is going to be more politically effective. Turning now from a terrible show to a good show, from The View to the Joe Rogan show. Joe Rogan expressed last week, I meant to get to it last week, we can get to it now, his view on the abortion issue. And I think his view is actually where a lot of Americans are on the issue. Joe Rogan's view is, I'm for a woman's right to choose, but.
It's just, I just don't like, I don't like people telling other people what they can and can't do, but it gets weird when the baby gets like 6 months old. It gets weird when they're really, really pregnant, because in some states, for the longest, I don't know what the rules are now, but I know that some states had late-term abortions, and sometimes you need one for medical reasons, right? Like the woman could die if she gives birth. Like it's a decision that people have to make.
Well, if you look back, what was your favorite part of being a fetus?
Well, what was your favorite part of being 3? Should I be able to shoot you at 3 because I don't want to take care of you anymore? It's one of those things. It's like, I am 100% for a woman's right to choose. But as a human being, just a person observing things, there's a big difference between a little clump of cells and a fetus with an eyeball and a beating heart. And for anybody to pretend there's not, You're not doing any
But
argument.
where do you draw the line?
Right, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question.
So Joe's view here is totally understandable. I think it's probably the majority view in America. It also is the least coherent view. So I think the pro-life view and even the pro-abortion view, the pro-life view, which is if human life has worth at all, it has worth from the very beginning and we should defend it. That makes sense. The pro-abortion view, the really honest pro-abortion view, which is, yes, obviously the baby is a baby, obviously the baby is a human, but we want women to have maximal bodily autonomy, and in order for women to have the same degree of bodily autonomy as men, they need to be able to kill their kids. That's the view popularized by Naomi Wolf. It's the view popularized by that girl who came on my show last week. That view, I think it's ghastly, I think it's evil, but I understand it. Joe's view it makes less sense, but I can understand why people come along to it, which is, look, I don't want to tell women what to do. I want women to be able to do whatever they want to do, but come on, it's at a certain point, it's obviously a baby, right? And it's obviously wrong to kill babies. And when his guest makes that glib joke, what was your favorite part about being a fetus? Joe mocks him for it. He says, oh, ha, ha, ha. I don't know, what was your favorite part about being 3? Should you be like, give me a break, man. Do you remember being 2? Come on, that's such a weak argument. But then Joe says, well, there's a huge difference between a clump of cells and a 6-month-old baby in the womb. But there isn't a total difference, actually. Either the baby, I think the big differences here, the big distinguishing features are you alive or are you a human? I think those are, the difference between alive and not alive, the difference between human and not human are much bigger differences than, say, the difference between having fully formed hands and not fully formed hands, between having fully formed eyeballs and not fully formed eyeballs. Those seem to me, they're differences, but those are much more superficial differences than are you alive or are you not alive? Are you human or are you not human? Joe is so close. He's so on the right track here, and he realizes that the pro-abortion propaganda is BS. Now the only question for him, and really, I think he so expresses popular views that it's a question for all of America is, are you going to go all the way with your correct moral intuitions? Are you going to follow them to their logical conclusion? I'm glad you like that clip. Now smash and like and ring and click and hit the whatever, subscribe, get the notifications. Also head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. Go get the Michael Knowles Show 5-star review. Maybe leave a 10-star review if you don't mind. We'll see you next time.